takes place tomorrow, I thought it'd be a good time to what happened. Group by now. There's a lot of evidence of some really fast, which hopefully we'll be able to share with you, and it's just most competitive races of the season so far. Going into the first corner, 3 cars squeezing into one spot. We had Tenchi back in the first round. There's a little bit of We'll start with our lead group. So we had Stefano leading in the yellow Ferrari. He was followed by Tenchi, who was participating in his second event of the year. Early on, Stefano was able to actually make a little bit of a break. I think I was actually holding up Tenchi a little bit, as in the qualifying he definitely had more pace than myself. But just looking at the order, then we had JB in the BMW. Oh no, he's actually changed to an Acura. I don't know where he is though. He's the rest of the fields. We had JB in the Acura. He just lost a bit of ground, it seemed. We had Jat. Yep, that Acura's definitely got some missing or some loose framework at the front of the car. We had Jat, Greg Core racing the Porsche. We had Roman in the Lamborghini. DJ racing in an Audi now, first race in the Audi. So we had not the largest field, a field of 11, but still anything above 10 isn't something to be overly upset about. Going back to the front, by this stage Stefano had developed quite a safe cushion just within the first lap of the race. Took it a little bit wide into the first corner. Just probably has to be careful with the warnings that were given, or that are given. This being also an afternoon race or an evening race, I'm pretty sure. Again, it's been 2 weeks since this race, so my recollections of what actually happened are a little bit vague at this time. Might get a bit of cockpit cam, why not? So the Circuit of the Americas, one of the more interesting tracks on the calendar. Definitely isn't the easiest track to set the car up for, because it's really made up of 3 very different sections. The first section predominantly made up of a number of S's, and each loop of those S's varies very much in size, predominantly 2 major straights. And then the third section of the track, where we're leading into now, consists of, again, a few semicircular shaped sections or turns, which then leads us back to the end of the lap. So it's quite a tricky track to set the car up for. You're always going to have to compensate. I guess that's with most setups anyway, but in this track particularly, trying to set up a car that's going to stick, but also that's something that doesn't that you're not going to lose too much ground on, because the straights on this track are pretty long when you actually do get there. Again, Stefano's run a little bit wide going into the last corner. So early in the race, lap 3 now, the top 3 separated by a mere 2.5 seconds. It's always good when you can use one camera angle to show the distance between the whole field, or between the top three. Again, quite early on. But it hasn't been often in the series where the top three have kind of had a bit of a bolt together. So we'll leave this group for a bit of a second. Then there's a second group of cars, 10 seconds behind. So we've got Greg in the other 911. Just looking, no damage yet. Survived the contact from the first couple of corners. The argy-bargy, as they say. We can see the red Lamborghini of Rahman behind him as well. It's actually quite fascinating how often these two brothers find themselves racing each other for position on the track. The competition between the two of them is quite good. So we'll just keep making our way down the field. We spoke about Rahman following. We then have a bit of a race going on between Jay and DJ. That Acura still has the front fender flapping around a little bit. Coming into that last section of the track, fast left-hander, hard on the brakes into this double apex of the final two corners. And is a move going to be made? DJ just thinks better of it, I think. But he definitely might have the run. Great shot to see the elevation change from the bottom of the main straight to the top of it. I think it's 100, maybe not 100, but it's quite a, I remember hearing it once, it's quite a dramatic increase from the highest point of this track to the lowest. So keep making our way down. We then have MB in the Mercedes that has had quite a hefty shunt to the nose of that car. And then Jat in the second Audi, kind of in no man's land at this stage. And then we lost it to Nissans quite early in the race. Jovo had some setup issues. He literally just, at this stage of the race, he'd flown back from Hawaii a couple of hours before with minimal sleep. So he just thought he was up for it, but obviously he wasn't. But that's part of it, I guess. Now the gap at the front has closed to 1.5 seconds. So this is kind of where we want to avert our gaze. Stage, I'm just trying to size up the situation. Stefano in front. Just looking at the attitude of those two cars, it seems like Stefano had a lot more stability going through the corners. If you have a look at the course that I'm driving, it's through the S, is sliding all over the place a little bit, going through that part of the track. both of us taking a little bit too much of the side of the road there. So at this stage in the Pro Tour, we're at this was round 7, second last race of the US Tour. And again, this is being commentated with quite a lot of hindsight, some 2 weeks after the event, just due to personal timing to actually get this video completed. So the following race at Watkins Glen has already taken place as well, and unfortunately for everyone, I forgot to save the video, or I forgot to save the replay, and I was unable to get someone else to save it before everybody left the lobby. So there is no upcoming video for round 8 at Watkins Glen, which is quite unfortunate. I'm sorry about that. It was quite a good race, quite a interesting encounter. There's probably a smaller field. I think it was only a field of 9 or 10 for that. Oh, and I've just made a move up the inside and been given a little bit of a love tap by Stefano. All good racing. So yeah, I thought Watkins Glen, there's no upcoming video for that event. The main gist of the race was that early on Stefano was leading as he is now. He was followed by our new racer, and I can't remember the new racer's name for the life. Stephen, but I'm not sure of his gamer tag. Stephen, who was racing a Ferrari as well. Stephen qualified 2nd or 3rd, and early on in the race was definitely holding the pace with Stefano. And then after the first quarter of the race or so, it was Stephen and Greg who actually took over the front running of the race, followed by Stefano, myself, DJ, Jay, and one more racer who I can't think of right now. It was a little bit more of a spaced out race, but if you looked at the times between, or the gaps between drivers, they weren't necessarily increasing or decreasing. Excuse me, it's just late in Sydney. So it was one of those races where if you made a mistake, that's where you lost time to the people in front, and that's where the people behind made up a little bit. And I just given Stefano a bit of Morse code in the last corner, just to repay the service. So just to recap the running order at this stage, it's Stefano, myself, Tenchi in 3rd, Greg and Roman are very close at this stage in the race for 4th and 5th. Then we had Jay and DJ still in 6th and 7th, and then bringing up the rear we had Mike and Jat. Might just keep the feed on these two at this stage. And as the sun sets on this track with all the colours, or the painted marks on the track itself and the colours around, it's quite a nice track to see at sunset. The scenery is, even though it's a game, it's quite nice. Perfectly frank about it. Coming down to the back corner of the track, debatably the slowest corner. Actually, probably not. Probably the second slowest corner of the circuit. Or the third. Probably the third now that I think about it. So there's the slightest of gaps between these two. So I'll move a little bit further down. We have DJ in the Audi. First outing in the Audi for DJ, so he's moved from the McLaren to the Audi. Actually second, he raced in Long Beach with the Audi. So he moved from the Objective Racing McLaren to the Audi. And then we also saw, as I said before, Jay moved from the Turner BMW to the Acura, just looking for a car that had a little bit more, probably just a little bit more nimble through the corners. To each their own. So we'll move back to the front of the field where there's a 0.2 of a second gap between Stefano and myself. Again, if you just look at the attitude of the two cars going through those S sections, that Ferrari seemed very much much more hooked up than that Porsche. Used a lot less curbs going through there as well, which probably didn't probably helped keep the car from bouncing around and kind of deviating from its desired course. Now Tenchi's fallen into the grips of the Karubu brothers. It looks like he's had a little bit of an incident because the front of that car is pushed in. So I can assume that he's had a bit of an affair with the barriers. At this stage of the race we're a third of the way through, we're 20 minutes through, so we can expect pit stops within the next 10 minutes or so to start taking place. The battle for 6th and 7th is starting to close up as well. There's only 3 seconds between those guys, and also the battle for 8th is starting to close as well. There's only 27th between Mike in the McLaren, in the Mercedes, sorry, and then Jat in the WRT Nürburgring Audi. So we're on board in the Ferrari with Stefano. Just trying to capture a little bit of the footage in the rear view camera. It's quite interesting. Quite a cool thing to actually watch in the replay, just to see how close the racing is. And from my view, as I was chasing down that Ferrari, one thing I really like about the driving the Porsche with the lighting is that you get the whole neon interior with the panel to the right. And I think I've just made a move for the lead. Nope. Oh no, definitely not. Stefano's just clicked a little bit, and I've waited for him just to prevent myself from getting a penalty. Even though I felt in that situation I was probably the one being squeezed as opposed to the one being the aggressive one. So the gap at the front's ballooned to over 1 second now. And I use the word ballooned only because the last couple of laps or so talking about 2/10 or 3/10. So look at my fuel reading as well. At this stage it's 6.7, but I feel like that's incorrect because there's enough fuel in this car to actually run the whole race. Just giving Stefano a bit more room. The car sounded ready to kiss the inside barrier just there. A bit of wheel spin, taking the inside line, make myself susceptible. Another bit of a kiss between the two of us. Starting to get a bit rowdy. But there is a change for the lead. And if we look down for the battle for third, how close is this for a race? So Gregor has taken third, and it looks like Romain's made his way up into fourth. Nope. Tenchi stays in fourth at this stage of the race. He's also lost his lights after that incident. Greg has gone a little bit wide in that slow part of the track. We get a bit of vision from Romain's bonnet just of this race, and you can actually see the battle for first is not that far ahead, and Tenchi has made an early pit stop. So we have a battle for the lead that is from first to fifth, 6 seconds. It's quite close. Definitely one of the closer races for the lead that we've had in the championship, with relation to, you know, the amount of cars within 10 seconds of the leader. 25 minutes into today, so almost at the halfway point. So that's quite good to see. So Stefano's back in the lead. I can only assume that I've made a mistake somewhere. Maybe run wide. And you can see all four cars vying for the lead within 5 seconds of each other. The next shot will probably give us a better indication. So there we go, the leading 4 cars vying for the lead in this race. And I've made an early pit stop as well, so before the 30-minute mark, trying to get a new set of tyres on. Because my theory was, because the racing was so close, I felt like I had the speed to get, or once past Stefano to pull away or to comfortably hold on to my lead. So I thought maybe if I could put some fresh tyres on 5 minutes before the halfway point, I could potentially use the undercut, or the theorized undercut. Hasn't really been as effective, obviously, in the championship as some might suppose, but definitely just that initial grip for the first couple of laps on the tyre, I thought could give me, all I was looking for really was a second to get ahead of Stefano. Just having a look again at the Michael Shank Racing Acura that Jay was driving, and we had again DJ following. By this stage Jat had got past Michael, but he's about to be lapped by Stefano, so Jat is at this stage a lap down, and Michael is, yes, very well, almost a lap and 20 seconds down by this stage. So we'll just go back to the lead of the race. Just be mindful that the second car in the queue is not racing to position. There was a little bit of contact between Romain and Jat, and Stefano has come into the pits, and that has opened up the track for Greg and Romain. Quite prudently, Romain has yielded the position to prevent his nose from being wiped off, so he'll have a bit of an onboard. That car seems quite loose when looking at the inputs that are visible in this replay. Quite a soft steering setup, it seems. Quite a lot of input for the turn to take place. Looks like Romain's also lining up for the Ocon. Yeah, he should really. Greg's still on the inside, so it's quite edified driving by the brothers. right, and that opened the door for Greg take the lead. And that's how he's staying now. He's staying with Roman and Greg side by side, so they're not pitting yet. At this stage I'm 30 seconds behind and Stefano's 45 seconds behind. In hindsight, I know that Stefano made a pit stop that was actually tyres and fuel. And as we know in this game, in this particular category, fuel's filled up separately and then tyres are changed, so it's a double whammy in relation to standstill time. So just looking at the next month of the Pro Tour. As I said, this video is being broadcast after the round 8 event at Watkins Glen, so for those people that were obviously racing and those who weren't, that event has already taken place. So at this stage we've raced in Asia, we've also raced in America. We now move to the UK, and the tour starts in Alton Park. We then visit Donington. The third event is Silverstone, if I'm not mistaken, and then the tour ends at Brands Hatch. So 3. Alton Park as well, but definitely Donington, Brands Hatch and Silverstone, 3 very iconic British racing circuits, each of them quite different as well. So you've got Alton Park, which is ultra thin, ultra tight, definitely not a track that you want to set your car up loose for, or even a track where your car's necessarily going to ever hit top speed. And then we go to Donington, which has obviously similar to this track, starts off with a number of S-type corners, and then the middle sections, 2 long straights, and then we move to some more conventional end to the lap as well, with, a couple of hairpins. So a track with a few different corner types. And then obviously Silverstone, what needs to be said about that track that you guys don't understand, one of the most iconic race circuits in the world, which has, in relation to corners, a little bit of everything. It also has extremely long straights, so to set up a car for there to be competitive definitely won't be the easiest thing to do. Neither will that track be the easiest track to run around for an hour without making a mistake. And then we also have the small, the eloquent, the very high speed, and one of my personal favourites, the Brands Hatch. It's always fun having a flock of GT3 cars, or a field of those cars, moving around there at high speeds. And they're always sliding and pushing to the outer ripple strips of the outer extremities of that track. And as we all know, as soon as those cars hit the grass at the hatch, they tend to be spinning very quickly. So if we look at Roman now, Roman has made his way into the pit stop. Greg has made his way into the pit stop. Roman has stayed out. He's done 36 minutes of the race now, and 17 laps, so I can only assume he's trying to keep his tyres warm for the end. Tenchi has fallen out of the race for the podium. He's lost 20 seconds to myself. I'm not really sure what's happened, but he's kind of in a race now with Stefano. So the two Ferraris are racing for 4th and 5th. There's 4 seconds between the two of them. And we have Jay and DJ still racing for that 6th spot. A race that's been going on for what seems to be the whole race now. And Greg has come back out and he's 10 seconds behind myself. So that early pit stop for the fresh tyres potentially wouldn't have been a yield of 10 seconds, but did definitely give me an advantage. And we'll keep following the leader till he makes his pit stop. If I can just say again, I feel like I've said it in a few of the broadcasts before this, doesn't that Vodafone Barwell livery look fantastic? I love watching that car. I love taking photos of that car, and I put together my weekly shots of the race. It's just a good looking car, a really good looking car. And Roman has made his move for the pits as well, so we'll see where am I at this stage of the track. So I'm coming into that large spoon area. Roman's still stationary in the box as I round the last corner. And he's still not moving, so there I take the lead of the race. It's not a bad livery as well, if I may say so myself. So temperature's gone down, sun's gone down. Definitely the S part of the track required a little bit more lift and coast, just to safeguard against the car spinning as the temperature dropped. And night has well and truly fallen on the Circuit of the Americas by this stage in the race as well. So after the British leg of the track of the championship, we perhaps come to the 8 most anticipated events of the tour. Firstly, there's the European leg. We're going to be racing at some of the well-renowned circuits. So we start in Portugal, the Algarve circuit, or what we would normally refer to it as Portimao. It's most known for obviously the World Superbike events that take place there, and also the Creventic 24-hour race that takes place there as well, for the GT3 cars. We also will be racing at Circuit de Catalunya in Barcelona, at Monza, and that rounds out those 5 events, not in that particular order, round out the 1 hour races in the championship. And then the blue chip events will be the Spa 2-hour race, the Nürburgring 2-hour event. Now that event is still very much not set in stone. There's a number of drivers that have been saying that they're not really interested in racing around the Nürburgring for 2 hours, especially if the field is set. You may never come in contact with another car. So that's something that's up for grabs. And at this stage, potential replacements I'm thinking could be the inner loop at Daytona, although there is, I wouldn't call it the most technical or the funnest track to be driving on for 2 hours. And the other track that I was thinking, what was the other track that I was thinking of? There was one, bear with me. Oh, Road America. Doing an endurance round at Road America. So coming back to the United States, like another iconic circuit. Probably again one of the larger circuits that we would race at, but wouldn't be very different to Spa. And for those events, we're definitely trying to have a full field of cars, a field of 16 cars, with everyone willing and eager to participate. And there's obviously also Bathurst, the Bathurst event in there as well, that will be very much anticipated. Probably will be a race of attrition, more than likely will be a race of attrition, the Bathurst event. We have exactly 3 minutes and 15 seconds of footage left. Again, for any new drivers, new people watching this broadcast that haven't participated in the Pro Tour yet, the invitation is always out there for new drivers to join. Even though this is the first season, we are desperately trying to fill the grid. We have yet to fill the grid for one of our events. Our best grid was 14. Our worst 9. So we still definitely have some room to grow. So if you haven't participated in an event but you find yourself watching this replay, you're more than welcome to join. Please just contact us on the Facebook page. Send me your PSN so that I can befriend you, put you on my Pro Tour list, and then that way you'll be sure to receive an invitation every week when the lobby for the event opens. So you're more than welcome, and spread the word if you're racing online with people regularly who you have a rapport with, who you know are good, clean, fair racers. Don't hesitate to introduce and invite them to the tour as well, because we're always looking to expand our championship, to expand to different parts of the world as well. At this stage we're racing in Australia, we're racing in New Zealand, we have people racing in Japan and Taiwan as well. Been recently contacted by a person who was willing or wanting to work out whether they could race in Canada or not. Didn't work out, just with the obvious life commitments that person had. But we're always looking to have people that are eager to race in this particular event. Another thing to start thinking about is the upcoming summer tournament that will be taking place after this GT Championship is complete. At this stage I'm just trying to finalise the schedule. It's obviously going to be a smaller championship, and it will not be a championship of 1 hour races. More likely a touring car TCR championship, where each event will consist of 2 races. More than likely those being 2 20-minute races, or 15 or 20-minute races. So again, that is something to think about as the replay starts again. So hopefully for tomorrow night's race around Alton Park we can have a really strong field. Thanks for those who took the time to watch this particular broadcast. Hopefully you have a great night, and we see you on the track for upcoming events on the Project Cars 2 Pro Tour. Have a great night and drive safely.